Good afternoon. Thanks very much for joining the session this afternoon. So today we're going to be looking at a NetSuite CRM and unlocking the power of NetSuite CRM. So just to introduce myself, my name is Emma Barnard. I'm one of the key account managers here at Bluebridge One. And shortly I'm going to be handing you over to Hendrik, who's one of our principal pre-sales consultants. And he is our CRM lead, one of our COEs. So just before we start, the agenda for the session today, so we're going to be going through NetSuite CRM and the benefits and key features. Then we're going to move on to unlocking the power of CRM and how you can do that within your current NetSuite environment. And then Hendrik is going to be walking you through CRM in action. Just before we start, could you please take a minute just to read our safe harbor statement? Perfect. So before I hand over to Hendrik for the session this afternoon, I just want to take a moment to highlight the Bluebridge One Centre of Excellence team. So the Centre of Excellence team are dedicated specialists within Bluebridge One who have a particular passion and knowledge about specific areas within NetSuite and areas that they can support within your business. So as you can see on this slide, we've got TourTech, finance automation, supply chain management, technical, unified commerce, professional services automation, and today you're going to be hearing from Hendrik, who is our CRM lead. So on that, I will hand you over to Hendrik for the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome everybody. All right, so as you hopefully know by now, today we're going to be doing CRM. Now, the focus for me for today, and there's a reason why we've split this into two separate sessions. Today, we are looking at core concepts. The majority of everything that I'm going to be talking through with you today is stuff that is part of core NetSuite. You likely don't need add-ons for the majority of what I'm going to be talking through. And this is really making sure that you are cognizant of things that are already available for you directly in NetSuite and the basic things that NetSuite can do. We will have a follow-up session later where we are going to be looking at a few very nice and exciting things. I'm going to be reviewing that a little bit later. So there is a lot to unpack here. Here on the right-hand side, you will see this is our map of CRM in general. This is how we use to structure the concept of CRM and to talk through the different areas that there is to unpack. The concept of marketing that is really related in the marketing vertical in a specific business. We are going to be talking through and looking at pipelines. We're going to be looking at case management, which is a very wide ranging topic through many areas of the business. We have concepts that span the entirety of the business, like reporting and analytics, and that's not just with CRM. So throughout, we have this map that we use to make sure that we are covering all the areas. I may not be touching on everything in depth, but I should be touching on most of these areas through the course of today. So the big question is, why NetSuite CRM? Why not something else? There are a lot of CRMs out there, lots that are very expensive, very cheap, that does lots of very good things as a point solution. Now, the reason why NetSuite CRM is, as we have it here on the board, single source of truth. Now, that is important. If you are trying to bolt on a CRM solution to a system, if you have information that is siloed, it doesn't work well. CRM is all about that 360. It is all about the ability to have insights, to see what is going on with your customer base. And that is really where NetSuite shines. NetSuite also has out of the box a lot of features. And that's part of what we're going to be doing today, is talking through the fact that we have all of these features, which perhaps you aren't utilizing already. So we are going to be showing that, and I do want to talk through the core. What we will be discussing throughout is, and this is another big strength of NetSuite throughout, is NetSuite is very strong at saying, I may not be doing this thing, best of breed, but I'm very happy to work with a third-party application that is. So NetSuite is very integratable, and we will be touching through this. Not very heavily today, but in the next session, I will be going through a lot more in depth on how these integrations works, what a few common integrations are that we are looking through. And of course, mobile ready is also par for the course, always good to have more flexibility on more devices. So let's look into it. The first thing that I want to talk through is the concept of marketing and the concept of marketing campaigns. So NetSuite has a facility in the system already that allows you to do marketing campaigns. It is for me on the lower end of the spectrum in terms of functionality. There are amazing point solutions that go above and beyond. But if you aren't doing anything, what NetSuite has out of the box is really, really good. So I'm going to be showing you just a few screenshots here, but I do want to just talk through this is, and the concept here of marketing campaigns will be being able to drive a new campaign. This is predominantly email campaigns, unless you already have something else integrated, or monitoring a campaign that you already have out there. How's it going? If we are using Google AdWords, are they successful? What markets are we hitting? What's the results that we've been getting? Have we been seeing more leads coming through? And these are concepts we'll be looking through a little bit later. So if we're looking at the concept of a marketing campaign, and you'll be seeing some screenshots throughout here, the marketing campaign is really initiating that we are going to go into this segment, into this market, and we want to launch a campaign. Now, like I said, most of the time, this is going to be direct from NetSuite. We are going to issue a bunch of emails. The rules there can vary. We have concepts like this upsell manager, which is really nice. If you're a product-centric business, and you have customers that are buying products that you can use, and you've got the information in the system to say, I want to upsell them. If we if they buy product A, then product B is a very nice upsell after 3 months. This is what the upsell manager does. It is trying to target those customers you already have and give them more value from your own product list. The more traditional side is where you've got a typical campaign. We are going to launch this campaign. We're going to do emails. We are going to tell you about a special. We are going to launch a website. We're going to do a thing that is going to intrigue people in and hopefully bring them through the door. And the nice thing about what NetSuite does is all of those metrics, the results can be measured directly in NetSuite. Did we see a result? Did we get more hits on our website? Did we see more leads coming through? And that can be monitored. All right, so just wanted to introduce that. Again, this is a feature that everybody should have available. If you've got something else that you're using for your marketing, that is absolutely fantastic. But if you don't, well, there's a tool here that absolutely is worth utilizing. So let's step on to the next. We've now launched our marketing campaign. We're sending out those emails. Now we are getting responses. What do we do with them? So, of course, this is all in the concept of lead management. Now, leads can be brought through in a few different ways. Of course, we can always capture a lead. Of course, we can always import leads. CSVs are always available throughout. You can integrate if, again, nothing stops you from having third-party systems throughout our, we're very happy with it. There are so many tools out there, and if you're using one of them, great. Have them work with NetSuite so that you are not doing double work. But one of the very nice things that NetSuite does offer is the ability to do online forms. And I really enjoy this because the online forms are so easy. They are trivially easy. I've shown you just here, literally here on the left-hand side is the little, I just put in 4 fields just as an example. You literally have a little builder that you do. Here are the things that we want to capture from a lead. NetSuite will publish that for you in a link. You can put that really easily on any of your websites, and you can then have prospects come through and capture themselves. What a joy. And this is, again, this is available. It is not something that you need to bring in. You have this ability right now. Use it. Again, if you're doing leads in some other way, fantastic. Then continue doing that. But if you're not, there is something that you can do that side. So now you have people coming in, you are capturing those leads. I think the key thing here is just to say NetSuite has all the features and functions in the lead management that you are familiar with on the customer side. So if you're looking at a lead record, you still have all the information that you would have on the customer side, because fundamentally, NetSuite sees this not as the same, but as, let's rather call it, different stages of the same object. A lead becomes a customer. The information that we have with the lead just transfers across to be a customer. And you've got the same things. You'll see here I've got a customer dashboard. That seems a bit weird. Well, a customer dashboard works on your lead status as well. You can take a look and have a dashboard view. You can have metrics on the leads that you have captured. Which markets are we getting leads from? Which statuses are they? And then push this through. And now we can take action to actually go and do something with those leads. So let's talk about that. We have generated them. We have the information now about the leads. Doesn't help us if we aren't routing, if we aren't managing those leads effectively. And I think this is the thing where I have seen most of our own clients fall flat. They are not doing the very last step, and that is managing those leads through the Salesforce that you have right now. And this is all about lead routing. Lead routing is fundamentally breaking up your prospects, your leads, your customers as well, into different territories, really categorizing them. We have a healthcare and sciences prospect sector, and the leads could be self-identifying as somebody in that sector. This could be from other meta information that you're getting from the lead. There's a few different ways in which we can have specific rules that will say if a new lead comes in, we auto-categorize them as this specific territory, so this type of lead, which means they need to be assigned to this specific sales rep or a sales rep team. So again, this is just something that not a lot of people are aware of. You can have a team working through and taking these leads and working through them, and you can have a percentage-based split. And typically, this deals in with commissions. If there's some commission structure, what kind of recognition you do want to have, and you can have partial recognition for the entire team. Again, it depends on how you want to manage it, but just be aware there is a rich amount of information here that you could be leveraging. Hopefully, most of you already are doing this. So let's go to the next. We have gotten some interest. We have people coming in. We have sales reps that are assigned and are following up and are hoping to close new deals. One of the best tools to do that is opportunities and the whole quotation from an opportunity. Now, again, I'm assuming most people are aware of the opportunity record or have some familiarity with something like this. But fundamentally, what this is it is saying we recognize there is a potential at an existing client, or it could be a brand new client, could be directly from your leads. Now, what this does, this happens, an opportunity will happen before a quote. It is a holder of everything that is part of that potential deal. So it is the centralized of tracking of that. You can measure how far along in the pipeline you are. And we can actually put this through, and based on the weighting, and that's the expectation from the person who's managing it, what's the likelihood of close, and we can put that into the sales forecast, we can put that into the financials if you want. One of the reasons I personally really like this and where we use the opportunities a lot is how it has the ability to take a lot of different pieces of information and put it together. So you can have this one thing, we can now send emails through, we can have communiques, we can create a quote, send it off to the prospect, they can reject it, they can ask for something else, they can ask for different alternatives, and keep all of that together as multiple versions. And you can come back after, say, 3 months and say, all right, Mr. Prospect, we now have had 24 different quotes. You have these different versions. We have iterations of them. This we think is the quote. And if they can go back and say, oh no, let's rather go back to the first one that we made, and you have a record of all of that. You've got a record of why you deferred that and so on. So it's a very nice holder for all of this kind of information. And again, it's a very familiar transaction. Those that are already working with NetSuite have seen sales and so on. It's nothing fundamentally new, but it does just give you that starting ability and the ability specifically to have multiple quotes, multiple communications, and you can tie other things to this. You could tie cases to this. You could tie, if you are doing call outs, these kinds of things can all be tied into this opportunity record. Very, very flexible. And that will then, of course, drive through the next bit, which is the concept of your pipeline. So we now have identified all of these different deals, and we have a team of dedicated people that are going to drive and look to close those sales. This is what we refer to as our pipeline. Your pipeline is the whole concept of where are we in the 6, 9, 58 stage discussion that we have before we get from initial contact to closing and selling goods, selling services. That is the concept of pipeline. I think most people will be very familiar with this. NetSuite has a very nice, robust ability to track this, to have metrics that are tracking where you are or how a specific deal is going. So these opportunities, what's the percentage expected close for that? Over and above that, it's also being able to drive sales forecasts from other sites. So the one site, and we should maybe have split this. One site, you've got an opportunity, which is I am already in discussion with this specific client. I think we've got a 20% of closing it. So it is taking the chance of closing something that we already have versus sales forecasts, which is a more forward-looking, based on history, we think we can sell the following kind of thing. And this whole concept of pipeline forecasts, quotations, goes into the space in NetSuite that we again can use to track how are we progressing. We have the ability, of course, to have a register of quotes. Which quotes do we have? Are quotes expired? What's the value of them? You can have chances of quotes. What's the chances of quotes? All of this will drive through into some form of pipeline analysis. Which stage are we at? And again, these stages can be the stages that you have that you have internally. Are we prospecting? Are we busy with proposal? Has a purchase decision been made? Or do we have, I know internally, we've got quite a few more stages, from first contact, from marketing engagement and the like. This can be as many or as few stages as you would like, so that you can also see where the problems potentially are. Do we need to focus on a new marketing campaign? Do we not have enough leads coming through? Or do we have a problem with converting a lead into an actual sale? And this is where you can start doing these analytics. On the other side is the whole concept of sales forecast. Now, this is a lot more common, again, in more product-based companies. So if you are a product-based company, this is more likely what you would already be doing, something like this. And what NetSuite will do here is it allows the salespeople to go through and say, I forecast the following will happen. And there's a few different ways we can do this. We can base it off of, I'm doing everything via opportunities, and here is where I think my opportunities are. Or it can just be from literally a list of items. I think we will be selling the following items here. How confident am I? Most of these tools that we've got has a confidence interval that we can use. And all of this drives through in an approval workflow. Of course, we want to have some checks and balances that our sales team, if they are making forecasts, that it is grounded in something at least semi concrete, as much as we can have that. And then we can measure. How are we doing? What's the actual? What's the forecast? What's the movement of my forecasts? Which of my sales reps are better or worse at forecasting? All of these metrics you can then trace. Again, just to drive good behavior and make sure that these kinds of your forecasts stay as accurate as we can possibly make them. All right, so let's step back. So this is now talking through the entirety of, in essence, the pre-sales cycle. We're not going to cover the nitty-gritty on the sales themselves. I want to jump through into a completely different concept. Cases help desk. Now, again, there are lots of point solutions, and some of you may be using some of the point solutions, but NetSuite has a very full-featured cases and help desk feature. This is interchangeable terms. It's not two different features. We can talk about the concept of cases, which informs the use of a help desk. And this is the concept of, we want to record issues for follow-up. Now, that can be internal. You can have an internal help desk if you've got IT support, if you've got technical support, and your own users need to use that. Well, perfect. Do that in NetSuite. Have people log in, record issues, and that can then be recorded for follow-up, and exactly the same thing externally. Central area, and there are a few different ways to capture. NetSuite has the ability to take an email, directly create a case from that. Really useful to make sure that you have an immediate action. Because keep in mind, this will automatically go into some kind of a workflow. We are going to route the case to the next person. We are going to make sure that it gets followed up. You can have as well web links. So you can have people go onto the web and record a case from there. Cases can be initiated from your customer portal. And once we've got the cases, there is a lot that we can do with it. Escalation of cases are all about, especially if you've got a very robust environment, it is about tackling them quick, make sure that they get addressed, make sure that we then assign this to the right resource to quickly be able to answer that. And that may not be the person that is managing the case. I know that is very much the case for us. We will very often have somebody that will triage it. If it's something simple, they may answer it immediately, or it will get escalated to a technical resource so they can go and follow it up. And making sure that that loop gets closed. You have some very nice tools where if you are doing warranties and returns, that also feeds into cases. Again, really useful for the product guys, especially if you've got the kind of product that by its nature has returns. And this doesn't need to be just damages. It could be upgrades. We've had cases as well where there is just inspections. It can even be preventative maintenance. There are some additional modules that does that maybe a bit better, but for very basics, there's a lot we can do with the cases as well. And once you start having this help desk, being able to build a knowledge base is really, really useful. We'll be talking a little bit later. So in the following session, I will be going through in a bit more depth with field service management. So I still consider this to be one of the newer offerings in NetSuite Core. It, of course, comes from a product that's been around for quite some time, so it is very robust. But the field service, it is well integrated and it does wonderful things, but that is an entire topic all of its own. So just a few things here in terms of cases and help desk. I didn't show a case form, which I maybe should have, but a case form, honestly, we change it so often when we actually integrate this with our customers. I typically don't see two case forms that look much the same from one another, but there is a concept of we can now record an issue and we can record the inevitable back and forth between the ultimate customer and the person that is managing the case. But where we want to see value is in how we monitor and manage it. There are a few different ways. You can do, so this we see very often, just some form of a dashboard. Each person that does cases has a list of cases, and it's typically a bit of a mixed pool. So if somebody is not there, the case is not falling by the wayside, and then we start color coding. Has it been escalated? Yes or no? Has it been addressed? Yes or no? Is the customer waiting for a response? So did they do a last response, or did we do the last response? how long has this been in the queue? So all of these are metrics that we can then chase, and we can go and record what is the metrics. How many cases do we have over a time period? Which days do you have more cases? What's the average time between it being logged and the first contact to first, final resolution? Do we have any pushback afterwards? Really useful to do. And again, you've got the ability to put a case on the website so that your customers can go and do your work for you. We love when customers do that. We love them to do the work for us. So let them give a space that they can go and fill this in. And heavens, you'll never see something this simple. I just wanted to, again, put down the concept. But typically, when you're doing a case online form, get a bit more information. What's the product? What's the service? What's the time scope that we have when the issue actually occurred? Right. So the next big topic, and this is a very general thing. I think this is one of those that spans the business. It's the concept of communication. And again, really useful in having this all in NetSuite. I think everybody is well aware of the fact that you can send emails from NetSuite in a multitude of places. Now, the reason why that is so powerful is, and this is more just the concept of having a repository of communication in one place. It means somebody can go on holiday, your own internal staff, without something falling over, because you've got a repository of communication that anybody can just pick up. And that comes through to this automated emails that are linked through to a transaction. This could be a quote, this could be an opportunity, and it could be from anything. Now, keep in mind with this, it's really useful, and this is vanilla, that you create these communications directly from system, but we can integrate through with your mail provider. So it doesn't have to come directly from NetSuite. You can also have these be integrated with your current emails. That is not vanilla NetSuite. Not a lot of work to do that, but just be aware that that is possible. And that is that whole communication emails, and I would also say reminders. The next one, which is overlooked, but again, this should be just part of the day-to-day, but the concept, the ability to centralize notes. Please be careful if you're talking to this prospect. They are very grumpy on a Monday. It seems trite, but having feedback like that is really, really useful, just to make sure that if somebody else is taking it over, again, that concept of allowing your people to go on holiday without the business burning, it is those little touches that can make a massive, massive difference. There is one thing that it's a little bit niche, but it's a very cute feature. It's not going to change anybody's universe, but NetSuite does have the ability to create sticky notes. So if you like sticky notes, a little digital sticky note, I have had some of our customers that actually go crazy for this, just because it's such a cute little feature. And that's all it is. You have a virtual little sticky note. You can make a note on it, and you can slap it onto a customer record on a transaction and the like. So instead of it just being a note in the same place, if you really want to grab somebody's attention, a little virtual sticky note is actually magical for doing that. So this is really simple, very easy to do. If this is something that you are intrigued to see, please take a look at it. It's worth the really minuscule amount of effort to actually get that set up. All right, and then everything else here is sort of par for the course. We know that we've got mobile access. I'm sure everybody has seen the fact that you can log other information than just notes. What was the meeting that I just had? What was the notes that we just took? I think the rise of AI and note takers are very prevalent. And one thing that I have seen as well with our own team is it is very easy to just let the AIs do, or note takers take notes, and then no actions get taken. It is really good to have those meetings, those automated notes, simply brought through either a copy paste, or the direct integrations are possible in some cases, and then have those meeting notes sit again in your one central repository. I will say as well, just in terms of future looking, NetSuite is doing wonderful things with AI going forward. The biggest piece of work that you can do to get ahead of the AI curve is getting good repositories of information. and it's just my own personal advice, don't worry too much about the detail, the individual AIs. They will change. But the one thing that does not change is the AIs are only as good as the source information that they have. And if you start building this repository in the future, that will help a lot with NetSuite's own AIs, which are getting better and better. Absolutely. Every edition, we're seeing something new coming through with the AI. But even if you want to do something external. Okay, and workflows, 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 workflows. You have them. It's a guarantee you can't have an NetSuite system without workflows, but do not underestimate them. If there is something that is happening manually right now, goodness, stop. There's so many things that you can automate really easily just by having a few more workflows. And I will say the converse, you could also have workflows that are working badly, that are slow, that are cumbersome. They do get outdated. People tend to build workflows iteratively, and that goes really badly. So be careful of them. It sometimes is necessary to also prune and review old ones. Again, if a process is getting bogged down. I did say I just wanted to touch on this. We're not going to go into any great depth today, but this is for me one of the core pillars of NetSuite. Now, I've gone through a few of the core pillars. Communication is a core pillar, and NetSuite's really good at that. Reporting is a core pillar in NetSuite. The single repository is another core, and all of that helps with this. There is a reason why we are very liberal and very easy in talking about integration and being very, I would say, NetSuite as an infrastructure is very open and accommodating with third parties because it works well. We're not absolutely everything for everybody. NetSuite Core can do a lot. And with third-party suite apps, there are some magical suite apps out there, and we are going to try and expose you to some of them. Just some best practices. Here are things that we have seen and that we've worked with that actually does great things for NetSuite. We will show this to you. But I just wanted to state the fact that if you do have multiple systems right now, 9 times out of 10, if not more, NetSuite is the right place to have as the repository of all of that information, because you have to have a single source of truth. Otherwise, you will have incorrect data, and NetSuite is good at doing that. So do not be afraid of, if you've got that other system lying there that is doing good work for you and you don't want to bring that through to NetSuite, that is fine. But make a plan, do the work that, best case, that information, that third party is coming through onto NetSuite, or that NetSuite is pushing information back, but that in some way you only have one source of truth. All right. And as I get off of that little soapbox of mine, it is a bit of a passion subject. Next up. So this was, I think, maybe a bit quick. I don't know. It felt like we went through that at pace. Hopefully that was somewhat enlightening. I do just want to give the look ahead. You will get some confirmations. I think we are soft aiming this in about 2 months. We are going to do the follow-up session. This is at this point in time, the list of topics. It may change, especially if we find something intriguing, that maybe there was some interesting questions, we may change this. But there is the concept of configure price quote, really interesting. If you're not familiar with it, that is leading an external customer or your own salespeople through multiple steps to be able to generate a quote. I want 3 of this. That means you need to have option A or B. Make those choices in a very structured way. Amazing. It's been long overdue for us to have a good CPQ, and this is coming along tremendously. Field service management, I think everybody should be aware of that. If you have the concept of field technicians going out and doing something in the field, whether that is maintenance, whether that is service calls, you need something along this to be able to track the actions, track the breakdowns, the repairs, the spares that are getting used, and the like. Another very, very robust things. Both of these topics are quite heavy, so we may need to split it out into their own sessions. So this is subject to change. I do want to talk through more about the AI features that have come through recently. I want to talk through intelligent item recommendations when we are doing sales. I want to talk through the concept of commissions and how NetSuite does that. Incentive compensation is the terminology that NetSuite uses, but how we can do commissions, either via this module or the more basic sort of semi-reporting based, general collaboration in NetSuite, and then we're going to go and I want to start showing a few of the common integrations, common extensions that we see into the CRM area. So I hope that is interesting. I hope this intrigues you for next time. I'm going to hand back to Emma just to talk through some of the new user types.
Great, thank you so much, Hendrik. Yes, I hope you found that useful. There were a few things in there that I didn't even realise, and I'm using NetSuite CRM every day, so really useful. Thank you. Yeah, just before we move on, so I wanted to highlight that there is, back in probably October last year, NetSuite released a few new user types, so separate to the full NetSuite user. And one of those types of users is the CRM only user. So this is perfect for anyone that's looking to access functionality that we've discussed in the session today. So primarily your marketing team, sales reps and support reps. This particular user is around 80% of the full user cost, and then obviously less your discount as well. So I just wanted to highlight that. Great. So just some key takeaways from the session today. So the purpose of bringing this to you, to our wider customer base, is really to highlight that this is functionality that you already have access to. NetSuite CRM is part of your core NetSuite package. I'm in account management, and a lot of times I come across customers who are using maybe part of this. They're really not getting the full functionality out of the system. So we just wanted to share that with you and see whether there's an opportunity for us to support you as well in setting up some of this functionality. So it's one centralized system. You're handling your marketing, leads, end-to-end sales process, and really comprehensive help desk as well for any of those cases. And as Hendrik mentioned, it's very flexible with integration. So I understand that there are lots of teams that are potentially using things that they're very comfortable with, but with NetSuite, you are able to integrate really seamlessly with any of these third parties. And as Hendrik mentioned, we'll touch more on that in the next session. Great, so just before we leave today, I just wanted to highlight a few dates in the diary for up and coming webinars. We are going to be looking to do the next CRM session early September. 4th of September, this date may change, but I think that's pretty much set in stone now. And I would say, if you do have any questions or any areas that you'd really particularly like us to dig in, please pop those in the Q&A box, because we can always look to cover those off in the next session. We'll also be sending out a Q&A at the end of this, after the presentation, along with the recording, so we can follow up and answer any of your questions. We're then going to be running a webinar looking at the NetSuite new release, so that will be coming mid-September. And then I'm very excited about the October session, looking at new technologies and really digging into AI. So I think that should be a great session. Before we close out today, I just want to say thanks very much to everyone for attending. Hopefully you found the session really useful. If there is anything you need and you want us to help you to get a deeper understanding of how your business can start utilizing some of that functionality that you've got available, please do reach out to myself, or if Esther is your account manager, please reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to set up a session to go through what you're currently using, or where you could potentially get some quick wins with your CRM functionality. And also, if you want to know any more information around the NetSuite CRM user types, please feel free to reach out. Thanks very much for your time today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.